What is happening in it? J Gaming Dude here, and I'm going to be doing a tier list on the most recent Need for Speed games. And I mean, like, I'm talking last 10 years sort of recent. So, I've been playing a lot of Need for Speed. I've been streaming it, it's on my channel, and all of those sorts of things. And I figured I'd at least give my thoughts on them. Because I'm pretty sure I'm going to anger a lot of people or annoy them and more or less pretty much bring up the question, why are you even playing Need for Speed? So I think that might have partly given it away, but let's just kind of jump into it. So when I'm talking last 10 years of Need for Speed, I'm not going to be talking about Need for Speed Unbound, but rather like anything from Need for Speed most... Shoot, what's the most wanted? Most Wanted 2012 onwards. Pretty much 2012 game onwards. And actually, you know what? We'll start off with that. Yep. So Most Wanted, Need for Speed Most Wanted 2012, released in, as you probably guessed, 2012. I thought that this was an okay game. I thought it was average on the list. So on the list, like, we've got the best, very good, average, poor, the worst, never played. This definitely fits under average. It is a fun game to just drive around in. There are cops. They're not like important by any means. You can kind of just drive around them. There's a lot of collectibles. I feel like Burnout Paradise really didn't do Need for Speed any favors, unfortunately, in relation to billboards. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to be talking about that a little bit later on. It's a fun game. Granted, I played it on the Vita and not the PS3. I'm pretty sure this came out on PC as well, but I can't confirm. It's just a fun time that's okay. Like, I don't know what else to say about it. It's pretty meh overall. It's not bad necessarily, but it's just not good either. I'm surprised there's no good option instead. After Need for Speed Most Wanted 2012, we have Need for Speed Rivals 2014. Definitely putting this in the poor spot. Need for Speed Rivals. I do not like this game. I thought that I liked it. So I played the first half as the cop. I played the second half as the racer. Thank goodness I did that, because if I had started with the racer, I would have stopped playing this game, walked away, deleted it, and just never came back. The cop side is fun. Like, you can do intercepts, you can do hot pursuits, you can do a bunch of different types of events. They're all fun. The problem is with the racer side, where every time you go out, if a cop sees you, they will immediately try to pretty much knock you out, whether or not you've done anything. The police are like rabid dogs. They will hunt you down, and you can lose progress if you get caught. I don't know why the risk exists. There's no reason for it to, at least not from my perspective. It just makes the game not fun. It's very easy to wreck your car as a racer, and so you don't need to get caught by the cops. You just need to wreck as a racer. So I absolutely hated the second playthrough that I did. So if you technically count cop and racer as two different playthroughs, I'd say I liked the cop, but the cop side was absolutely dragged down and ruined because of how much I hated the racer side. The tech is actually kind of cool, but again, like, this is probably the game it was most well implemented in, and even then I didn't have enough fun with it to be able to enjoy it, and I just did not like Rivals. The police stuff, not the police stuff, but the police chasing you as a racer really hampers it, and I played purely offline. I didn't play online at all, because if you play as a racer, all the other players that are cops will try to hunt you down no matter what. And it's very difficult to, be able to hide from another player, especially when they are technically kind of, better than you. So if you're not particularly skilled, I feel like I just cannot recommend this game. Moving on from that, we have Need for Speed 2015, which I'm gonna put up as an average. It's an okay game. I definitely had a lot more fun than I did in Rivals. In Rivals, the handling of cars is good. Need for Speed 2015 feels slightly better, but also not by enough. I feel like Ghost games really drag down the Need for Speed from Rivals up to Heat, from how good they could be. Need for Speed 2015, I like the street racing aspect. It reminds me a lot of crap, what's that game called? Midnight Club 3 Dub Edition, where I played that game way too much, and I absolutely loved that game. Make no mistake, it was a very fun game to play through. The abilities of cars and stuff, you've got like, aggro and stuff like that. Aggro, raw, and something else I can't remember in Midnight Club 3. In Need for Speed, you've just got various types of events, various storylines, and sort of FMV style cutscenes, which people didn't like, and I thought was like the cringy aspect to it is entertaining enough. So I guess at least there was something there as a story, which I think made this game better than Rivals, and also the fact that you don't run the risk of losing progress as a player if you get caught by the police. It's nothing too bad. And plus, you can then just play like a small amount of money to, or run away from the cops, and also like the different styles of like. So you not only have like so I say that there's like 5 different types of. So 5 different stories. One which is race, or one which is speed, which is where you go from like it's normally just racing. You've got build, where you try to build a fast car, hit a particularly fast speed by building up your car. You've got outlaw, which is like you go around and actually bait the cops as much as you can while trying to meet particular conditions. You've got style, which is about drifting, which is about just the way that you drive, and doing stuff like the gymkhanas, drift trains. But drift trains also falls under the final one, which is crew, which is driving together as a crew, which is more of a cooperative thing, where it's like you and a bunch of other AIs, AI controlled cars, as you try to like, with drift trains, drift together. So you have to stay near the pack, and the closer to the pack you are, the greater your multiplier is, so you can hit those points a lot quicker, or the points to win the target amount, whatever the points might be. It's a lot easier to reach. So at least there's some like differences between how you play and how you tackle them, but it still doesn't feel great necessarily, is what I'll say. It doesn't feel great. Yeah, I guess that's really all there is to it. I think the reps were a really good idea, though there's some community reps that are like great to have on your car. And they take inspiration from Itasha, which is pain car in Japanese, otherwise known as like sort of very cringy, hard to look at cars that usually have anime characters on them and are normally part of the Japanese drift scene in real life. There's a lot of inspiration from that, which is cool. But yeah, it's just okay at best. It loses the fun factor pretty quickly, and that's kind of unfortunate. Moving on from that, we have Need for Speed Payback. Released in 2017, also done by Ghost Games. Need for Speed Payback, I'm going to put under very good. This is actually the Need for Speed that I enjoyed the most. A, it has a story. B, it lasted, like, its story length lasted longer than the entire time I spent playing Need for Speed 2015. And Need for Speed Rivals, I think I put in like 20 to 25 hours. Need for Speed Payback, finished the story in about 18 hours. Need for Speed 2015, completed the entire thing in maybe 15 hours. Need for Speed Most Wanted had no story, so that's clearly like, underneath Payback. Even if it's cringy, even if the writing isn't great, the fact that it is just what I would describe as Fast and Furious if it was a game, like an unofficial Fast and Furious game. So what Need for Speed Payback made me realize was the more a Need for Speed game is like Fast and Furious, the more I'm going to enjoy it. Yes, Payback story is more so about going around racing crews in order to get revenge and be able to be part of like some particular story events in order to be able to get back at the person who betrayed you at the very beginning. That's not necessarily a spoiler because that's literally in the name, Payback. It is a fun game to play through. The only negative that I would have to say about this game, besides the cringy writing, the open world aspect probably was a bit unnecessary, is the amount of collectibles in the game. Yes, there are a lot of activities where you can get up 1, 2, or 3 stars depending on what tier you meet. So there are stuff like speed traps where you have to hit a very specific point in the map as fast as possible, and then you get stars based on how fast you're going. The faster the better. There are speed runs where you have to run a high average speed from point A to point B. Very annoying and probably the most difficult thing in the game, but if you can do it, it's, like it actually genuinely does feel good to kind of hit some real high speeds. Those are the most annoying parts. And then you have collectibles like, there's of course drift zones as well. So from point A to point B, get X number of points by drifting. And then you've got collectibles like the gambler chips. You've got billboards again, so billboards make a return. There's more. I just can't remember them off the top of my head now at this point. But there are more collectibles. So the unnecessary extra collectathon that I did at the end probably wasn't necessary. The speed cards thing was well blamed. Like, the blame was well deserved on Payback for being like that because of stuff like Star Wars at the time. 2017 was a bad year for games that give you luck-related rewards. But the thing is that Payback was nowhere near as bad as other games, and while some hate was well deserved, some wasn't as bad. The car handling felt just right to me. There are no police in the game. They only appear in specific story-related events. So that's, again, totally up to you whether you like or dislike that. I personally like that because I don't like police in Need for Speed games, and I think that if police are in Need for Speed games, that I just genuinely dislike them. So that's kind of partly why I think Need for Speed might not necessarily be a franchise for me. So I think that Need for Speed is good. I wouldn't call it very good. Actually, I think I might be able to change this. I'll just call this good. I'm going to put non-applicable for here because I'm not going to be putting anything here. There we go. Better. Yeah, so we changed very good to good. So far, we have Need for Speed Payback as good, Most Wanted 2012 and Need for Speed 2015 as average, and Need for Speed Rivals poor. And I think I might have given the game away from my last stream that I did of Need for Speed Heat. Heat is going under worst. I hate this game. I despise the game. There is a story. And you would think, doesn't that make it better than Most Wanted and Rivals? To which I would say, normally yes. But the story is so weak sauce. I beat it in under 10 hours. Or it took me 10 hours to beat. And that includes all of the grinding I had to do to make my car better. Increasing my rep. I mean, I got my rep up to like 50 in 12 hours. And I spent about 35, 36 hours playing this game. So you might be wondering, well, like, why the hate? So as much as I give crap to the collectibles in Payback, Heat is way, way worse. They get rid of the speed zones, which I appreciate in terms of activity. So you've got the speed traps, you've got the drift zones, But in addition to that, you've got way more collectibles. You have 80 billboards to smash. In Payback, you only have like 30. You've got 100 flamingos to collect, which you need to actually crash into in order to collect them. Which could be similar to the 100, what's it called? 100 gambler chips in Payback. But then you've got two other collectibles, of which you've got 120 and 110 and 130 respectively. So you've got well over 300 collectibles in Heat. In addition to the 120 to 130 activities you could 3-star. There is no reason for there to be this many repetitive, kind of boring activities to do. What makes the whole thing even worse is I'm complaining about the police in Rivals. I like the fact that there's no police in Payback. The police in Most Wanted 2012 are okay, and also Need for Speed 2015. I hate the police in Heat because they will catch you very easily. The only way to run away from them is to use jumps, and even then they still stay on you. They are insane. Now, yes, they have been degraded from what they were back during Heat's original sort of release period. They did lessen the police in terms of like how absolutely vicious they can get. But it's not that the police are necessarily vicious so much as what happens to you when you get caught by the police or your car gets trashed. In Need for Speed Rivals, you can earn amount of money, you can earn amount of experience, you can bank it, and you will never lose it once it's been banked. In Need for Speed Heat, no matter how much money you've got, you will always lose money in your bank. No matter how much money you have saved up, I lost $180,000, which could probably be easily grinded, and yes it can, across 2 police after getting caught by the police twice. If you're gonna play it and you can choose to play at night, you can choose to play during the day. I cannot recommend playing this game after you've gotten the achievements for hitting level 50 and getting the achievements for playing at night, which is doing 1 high heat race and completing 1 high heat race of heat level 5 and escaping, as well as earning 1 million heat in 1 night and banking it all. So banking 1 million heat in 1 night. If you can do those 3 achievements, hitting level 50 as well, if you can do those 3 achievements, you will never want to play at night ever again, and I never did. I never touched nighttime ever again. I've lost so much money to this game's police because I just couldn't escape them. And when you start the game, it's probably the most rough it will ever be. So I think that the way in which police are implemented in a Need for Speed game largely seems to dictate how I feel about Need for Speed games in general. If there are no police, I'll probably like it. If there's too many police or they're too vicious, I'm probably not going to like it. And then whatever is going to be the punishment for getting caught is definitely going to affect it. So I can't help but think that at this point that I probably shouldn't really be playing Need for Speed because that's probably not my jam. But otherwise, I probably wouldn't have been able to enjoy Payback as much as I did. So there is at least something to be had. There is fun to be had, and I kind of enjoy or appreciate that. But I think generally speaking, Need for Speed might very well be an over-appreciated series. I'm the kind of person who likes playing Burnout. I'm a Burnout guy. I am a guy who likes playing Midnight Club 3. I mean, LA Remix was okay, but 3 was still, just way better. And these are individual games. I don't know why Need for Speed keeps constantly coming out. They should just stop the series and just make Burnout. even if the new game is more like Burnout, no game like Burnout will be like Burnout, because I would argue that Burnout Paradise was actually the worst Burnout, because there's no reason for Burnout to be an open world. It just needs to be a point-to-point track. You don't need to drive from place to place. There's just way too much time wasted there. And also with the addition of billboards, it's been added as a collectible in four of these 6 games. No, 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 games. So Need for Speed Payback has it. Need for Speed Most Wanted 2012 has it. Need for Speed Heat has it. I can't remember if Rivals has it. It's been a while since I played it, because I've been playing these games back to back as well. So maybe I'm just very much fatigued by Need for Speed. And I genuinely am, so I'm stepping away from the series for a bit before I try Hot Pursuit Remastered. But as of right now, I feel like I need to get some steam out about Need for Speed. So this has been my Need for Speed tier list. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time with another video on something else that I probably would like a little bit more. So I'll see you guys then.